Hello. Today I'm going to talk about Rugrats, but not the computer-generated reboot that I guess is now on Paramount Plus. I haven't seen any of that. Um, but when I saw it trending on Friday, I thought, oh, I should have done what I'm about to do, recorded it on Thursday, and that way I could have maybe gotten more people to see it. Um, but I hadn't watched the Rugrats movie, which is what I do want to talk about. Um, I consider this movie to be required viewing for all older siblings, which is why on Saturday I sent DVDs of it to a couple of older siblings who recently became older siblings. Um, Daughter of a family member, both sons in this case, one of a family member, one of a friend, um, and yeah, they it's something I started actually a previous family member giving birth and her uh, her son then becoming an older sibling, and I happened to watch the Rugrats movie on HBO Go or something at the time. I happened that day to have thought, I haven't seen this movie in a while. I have fond memories of it from when I was 11, and I'm going to put it on. And I watched it, and then a baby was born, and what had previously been a baby became an older brother, and I thought he should see this. And I decided to make a tradition of it, similar to how I make a tradition of giving teddy bears to newborns. There was a teddy bear with each DVD for the younger sibling. Um, and I'm not going to, read too much into the movie. It's mostly on a very basic level that I think this thing, and that's pretty much just the acceptance of responsibility and uh, and the understanding of um, you know you've been an only child, and then there's a new child, and suddenly you don't get all the attention, and understanding more about that. It's I mean, Rugrats really is a something for very very young kids. I can still appreciate the humor that the adults who wrote it put into it. I kind of know one of them, but it's talking to very very young, not babies who can't understand the words necessarily, but it's talking to the very 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 young, and which is why it's um, a good vehicle for the kinds of lessons that I think that it has. For instance, as I mentioned just now, the idea that you've been an only child. Now there's a new thing. It's taking some of your parents' attention. Uh, in the moment, if you're of an age where you can recognize that this is happening, which I don't think I was, but I know people who were, um, it's hard to see past yourself that the reason they're not paying all their attention on you is not just that there's a baby there, but what the baby needs that you used to need but don't need anymore. Um, the fact that you weren't necessarily aware that you were keeping them up all night, and you're probably falling asleep relatively fine, whereas they are staying up all night with this baby now, and so when they do have time for you, they don't necessarily have the energy that they used to have, and this movie depicts that very well in the first 20 minutes or so after Dill Pickles is born, and it's so the very young people, brand new older siblings watching this, they can kind of see, maybe they don't really really get it, but they can kind of see everything laid out for them in front of them that they can't see happening around them in their own life that directly affects them. So that maybe helps a little bit. Um, but also, as previously mentioned, the responsibility that comes with it. Not necessarily becoming a third parent. That shouldn't be what happens with older siblings, although it is what happens with some. But um, you know, the, realizing that you were once this helpless thing. You weren't always the way you are now. You were once this helpless thing, and that Dill Pickles is in the movie, and now you don't know everything in the world, but you know more, and you can be you can be a little on the helpful side in what ways, depending on your age, you're capable of. Tommy Pickles is the older brother here, and he is like so many movie characters that we project ourselves into. Tommy, as an older brother, he's an idealized older brother. He's kind of the older brother of the whole Rugrats crew of Chucky, Phil, and Lil. Uh, Even though I think Chucky's technically older, and Phil and Lil might technically be older than him. Um, I don't remember. I think maybe Betty and Dee Dee met uh, in some We Have Newborns society or something like that. It's been a long time since I've watched the Rugrats show and knew all the lore, but I think it was something like that. But regardless, Tommy is the one who, um, he's the brave one, and Chucky is notoriously the coward. And actually, there is a Rugrats episode in which Chucky's import as perhaps older, more experienced, and therefore more cautious is seen as important. It's the Rugrats version of the Jimmy Stewart Christmas movie, It's a Wonderful Life, where Chucky has to see what it would be like for Tommy if Chucky had never been born. I forget how that episode starts, but essentially Angelica takes over, and so it's seen to be important that Chucky exerts whatever influence he does over Tommy. Chucky is caution, and therefore Tommy can be what Tommy is in the show. And in the movie, Tommy becomes a real older brother to a real younger brother. And not that there's anything more or less real about his relationship with the other babies, but biologically, it becomes the thing. He's not just friend; his title is brother. And naturally, it being Rugrats, they end up on a ridiculous adventure. And one thing I kind of noticed all the way along as I was watching it, but it comes to a head at one particular moment where it largely takes place in a woodsy area, and there's one scene where there's just a whole bunch of Disney-looking Bambi-like animals hanging around a stream, and then the Rugrats tear through in their Reptar wagon, and it kind of drove home the idea for me that I'd been thinking, which was this is not a Disney movie. This is so much more chaotic than a Disney movie, and I think a lot of and even Disney movies now are like that. But The Little Mermaid was not a particularly chaotic movie, even with Aladdin with Robin Williams, not particularly chaotic, except for when he's flashing from character to character to character as the genie. So right there, just for diversity of movies, show them Bambi, but also show them Rugrats the movie. But it's a ridiculous adventure. Monkeys are on the loose because of a Russian circus or something like that, and there is a wolf in the woods. The plot of the movie is when Phil and Lil see how unhappy Tommy is about having a new brother, they decide to take Dill back to the hospital, and they all end up in the wagon, and the wagon ends up moving. I forget precisely why the wagon ends up moving, but it leaves the house, it goes to the highway, it ends up in a mattress truck, and the mattress truck goes off the highway, and I forget exactly why the mattress truck goes off the highway. It may or may not have something to do with them in it, or maybe it's just somebody driving wildly but it goes off the highway down into the woods, and the driver somehow gets out of the car before it goes down into the woods, but the mattresses protect the babies, and they're in the woods. They've got to get back. They've got to find a house, looking for any house, and Tommy has just had a book read to him about a wizard living in the woods, granting a boy a wish, and so they go in search of a house, and they see the ranger station, and because the chimney is smoking. And the rangers, by the way, are David Spade and Whoopi Goldberg, so that's fun. And then there's a reporter who I didn't peg immediately, but eventually it became very clear it was the voice of Tim Curry, or rather, not the familiar voice of Tim Curry, but Tim Curry doing a voice, and just a few other people who are in this cast: Andrea Martin, Margaret Cho, and then there's a scene where a bunch of newborn babies are singing, very, very, like they have a lot of words that they can use, and they're very clever about it, which kind of makes it a little confusing that Dill then hardly has any words to communicate with the other babies with. But among the voices of the baby singers are Lenny Kravitz, Iggy Pop, Patti Smith, Jacob Dylan, and Lou Rawls, and Beck. So among the reasons to show this movie to anybody, so many wonderful voices in the cast. But Tommy, as usual, is the trying to be the leader of the group in getting home from the woods, but he's also officially the older brother. Stu, the father here, Stu Pickles, he's given Tommy, I guess it's a pocket watch, but it looks like a compass, or Tommy takes it to be a compass like the one that whatever the Rugrats version of Indiana Jones is. I forget what they call him exactly. Something along the lines of Baby Anna or something like that. And it has a picture of Tommy and Dill. And as Stu is giving it to Tommy, he says, "You've got responsibility now." And Tommy hears this little watch thing is called responsibility, and it will lead you like a compass. That's how. And so he wants to, as usual, take the lead, but he's got this chaotic baby newborn with him, and throws a lot more wrenches in his plans than Phil, Lil, and Chucky, and even Angelica, who are more aware of what they're doing and the effect that they have on the world around them. And there's a brief portion that it's just Tommy and Dill, and that's when Tommy is tempted to just give up on responsibility and let Dill be in the woods and let what happens. And of course he doesn't. But he has that temptation, and then he finds his peace, I guess. And so then it's just a matter of getting out of the woods, finding everybody else, escaping the wolf. Angelica has an entire side quest. She's chasing her Cynthia doll that ended up in the Reptar wagon previously, and it all turns out all right because it's Rugrats. It's the Rugrats movie, but Tommy coming to that realization that finally seeing Dill for the helpless thing that he is, realizing that he's got to be what he's always been, just a little more, because again, baby Dill requires more attention than the slightly older babies, which is again what we get from the whole Stu and Dee Dee can't necessarily give Tommy all the attention they used to give him because they've got this much more needy, much more attention-grabbing new thing in their life. So all of that comes together, and I hope all of it made sense coming out of my mouth. I don't think I should go on much further because it's not that complicated or deep a movie, but when I first saw it, and I was 11 at the time, so not exactly the age of the characters or necessarily the age of the target audience, but I stuck to my love of Rugrats for longer than probably most people did, and especially when Tommy sings that song about "I Need Mommy and Daddy Too," I felt for him, and I thought, I literally thought in the moment, older brothers need responsibility, and they need to, or older siblings, anybody, have responsibilities, and they need to acknowledge that things are different and things are going to change, but it doesn't necessarily mean things are lesser or worse. So that is my overthinking of the Rugrats movie. That is why I send it to the older siblings of babies who are born in my inner circle. Haven't done it a lot, probably won't do it a lot, but I consider the Rugrats movie required viewing for all older siblings. And so if you haven't shown it to yours or to your oldest child, highly recommend it. Have a nice week.